No ding. Interesting. I am live. And right at 12:10 too. I was hoping I was going to get it a little bit earlier than that, but unfortunately, computer updates happen, things happen like that. So what are you going to do? Anyway, welcome. It is Sunday, April 17th, 2016, and welcome to episode 135 of Dylan Knows, my weekly video show where I talk about anything and everything. Sometimes we have themes. First Sunday of the month is my themed comic show with my co-host MJ Khan. Second Sunday of the month is my list show with my co-host Jerry Fletcher. And occasionally I do a fourth week with Dylan Knows International with Bronwyn from Canada, but things just haven't been working out to get them connected up. And next Sunday is a little crazy, so I don't know exactly what I'm going to do next weekend. We maybe we'll do an episode Saturday. It all depends on time and stuff like that. So until then, you're stuck with me for today's episode all by myself, which is usually what I do my third Sunday of the month. Yes, I've been doing this over 2 years now, I think. Yeah, 52 is 104. Yeah, 104 episodes plus 30 some. So, 2.5 years now, possibly, pretty much. So it's been going, and I'm very proud of what I do, and I do what I want to do, and don't care what anybody else says. I would prefer if more people would interact with me, but you know what? I can't force people to do that, so nothing I can do about that. However, if you do want to interact with me, you can tweet me at Holodill or at Dylan Proco. It should show up on my phone. You can, if you're watching via Google+, you can do the Q&A. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I think I've tried it a few times and it didn't quite work, so I'm not exactly sure that works. But I've had questions before in the Q&A before, so go ahead and run that by there. So what do I talk about today? Well, my third week show is usually what I call Here and Now, and I was going to try to keep doing that every week, every time this third week came up, and just talking about current events, stuff like that. But YouTube sort of nixed that when I could not use the song Here and Now for my show. So I don't have any entrance music. And, I guess I could get somebody to make some for me, but I kind of like a lot of songs and I like to play them before my show. But I have to find out which ones I can do without YouTube either scrubbing the audio, which screws up the full audio, where what I'm saying looks like a badly dubbed Japanese film, or just holds. There was one time where I had a song that was held up in copyright for about 3 or 4 days, an episode held up for 3 or 4 days while they were trying to figure out this copyright on this one song. So by the time I was able to post the episode, my next one was coming out like the next day. So I don't know. So I'm playing it straight now for the most part. So what do I got planned for today? Well, I know I talk comics a lot with MJ, but I just want to keep pushing Free Comic Book Day because that is a big event and it's coming up in a couple weeks, and I just want to keep pushing that. I also, might think about talking about, people have asked me before about, my career in comics before what I'm doing now. I did work in the comic industry, but not as a writer, artist, or whatever. I was a distributor, and I can talk about that today. There were 4 pretty high-profile trailers that came out over the last week or so that I want to discuss as well, my views on it, and get some opinions from other things. I might try to do a couple of comic reviews, movie reviews, music review, which is something I haven't done in a while. And I also want to talk about, I was at Hershey Park yesterday. You might be able to tell by a little bit of redness on my face. I got a little sunburn on my face, but that's all right. And I want to talk about a little bit about commercials and some sports talk. I know a lot of people don't like the sports talk, but you know what? There's some fascinating stuff happening in the world of sports right now that I want to talk to. And I think we may as well start with that just to get that out of the way. And so please, my 2 viewers, please don't leave. Bear with me. I will get to the geeky, nerdy stuff, but this is just some things that just make me think here. And plus it adds into the name of my episode. Episode 135 is called Retirement Talk. So we'll start with that one. It must be nice to be a professional athlete. Not only do you get paid a ton of money for I guess, just playing a sport, depending on what it is. Football is, 16 games plus 4 at most in the playoffs if your team is that good to go to the playoffs. And I've lost all my viewers because I'm talking sports. That's funny. So we'll come back after this sports talk. So come back, give me about 10 minutes. And then 4 more preseason games for football. This is just for football, so that's a total, let's see, 24 games. And then they've got their year-round exercise regimens, their practices, their spring practice, summer practice, training camp, all that. So I guess being an athlete is considered a full-time job because you've got to keep your body at the peak abilities. And also baseball is the same way. Baseball has 162 games, so it's a little bit longer. Season goes from April to like October, and then you've got spring training, which starts around February, so you only get a little break in there, and you got to, once again, keep yourself in training. Basketball's 81 games, I think. I'm not sure what hockey is, but it's probably on the same lines, 81, 76, something like that. Because right now, the hockey's in their playoffs for the Stanley Cup playoffs right now, and basketball is going to be starting their playoffs, I think, soon, if not already. I don't know because I don't follow the NBA, but it must be nice to retire at the age of 27, like Percy Harvin did. And there are other recently big name players who have played only maybe 10 years in their professional leagues who are retiring also at the ripe old age of 30. It must be really nice because I'm 12 years past 30 and I'm still working, and I am not going to be retiring probably in the foreseeable future. Next 25 plus years, I probably won't be retiring till then, unless of course I win the lottery, but that's a different story. But I just find it odd that these athletes who are still at the peak of their careers are retiring at such a young age. And that brings up a whole lot of other problems as well. It's not necessarily because they're being dicks about it. That's the one theory in some cases. One of the theories is a player's contract is up. The team he's playing for doesn't want to give him big money, and he's floating himself out in free agency, and nobody is giving him big money. He says, what, I deserve big money because I want money. I have money, but I want more money, and I have to put my body through what I'm putting it through. If no one's going to pay me what I think I deserve, even though you might not deserve it, I'm just going to say, F you guys, I'm going to retire. I've got enough money to live by, supposedly, and, is that a dick move? I suppose it is. But therein lies another issue is, do you think also possibly that because of the way sports is now, are they afraid of injuries, which could haunt them for the rest of their lives? Because that seems to be an issue that's starting to crop up a lot more with all these players who played in the 80s and early 90s who have retired and have long moved on, and they're in their 40s and 50s, and they're suffering from concussions and their arms and legs being mangled and stuff like that. Because let's admit it, baseball, this is the most, like last year or 2 years ago, they had the most people who need to have Tommy John surgery, which is not an easy surgery. It takes over a year and a half to recover from Tommy John surgery. And there's been a ton of pitchers doing it because, and they're all young guys, they want, because the teams right now, they want the pitchers that can throw 100 miles per hour every game. And the amount of force and pressure that puts on a young arm is disastrous. That's why so many kids have these, Tommy John surgeries, which I think they have to like slice the tendon and reattach it and do all this crazy stuff that I could not even imagine, and then you've got this long ass rehab. And then who's to say when you come back, you're going to be as good as you were a year and a half ago, which is in some cases you aren't, because now your velocity has to be diminished because you have a weaker arm, and yet there's some people who survive. Steven Strasburg is a good example. He had Tommy John surgery early on in his career, right when he was starting to really make a name for himself. It was out for a while, and he's been a steady presence on the Nationals, though he might not be, as outstanding as he had the potential to be. But that's that's the nature of the game right now, is that bigger, faster, stronger is what everybody wants. I mean, and concussions is another big thing, especially in football. I mean, that's a huge deal as well, and it's causing issues later on in life. Now, is that another reason why these players are retiring early? Also, their fear for their bodies. That's okay too. That's not being a dick move. That's that's being afraid of what's going to happen to you. Now, basketball to me, I like college basketball. Not a lot though. I mean, I'm not a big basketball fan, and the NBA. And to me, it doesn't seem like that there's a lot of major injuries in that sport, because basically you just need to be in tip-top shape. You've got to run up and down the court every night for 81 games and take the shots, do it. And the problem with basketball is I think they can take kids out of high school. They don't have to go to college, right into the draft, and they can give them $100 million, and these kids have no idea what to do with it. And that's why you hear about all these athletes getting arrested or getting into trouble or doing things, because they have no idea what to do. They've given a lot of money, and then they spend it like it's water, because they don't have any foreknowledge of what the future is going to bring from them. They think, I'll just keep making $100 million every contract, and that's not necessarily the case, because if your abilities diminish, you're not going to get paid $100 million, even if you are a name. Your first contract, maybe even your second one might be the big ones. But if you are expecting to get paid every time that much money, it's not going to happen, because people aren't going to, because there's always someone younger, stronger, and faster coming up behind you. And the fact that Kobe Bryant was able to play 20 plus years at a fairly high level, he started to tail off a little bit there. That's pretty impressive, But basketball is the one game that gives the biggest hope, I think, to a lot of young kids, because it's something that they play on the playground all the time. And if you can shoot from 3-point range, or you can make dunks, or you can make good shots like that, then if you make enough noise, the NBA will come calling. You can make a ton of money, hoping that they're going to get the next Michael Jordan, next Kobe Bryant, the next King Charles, King James. I'm sorry, King James, with LeBron. But not all players are like that. I mean, you've got to fill. I don't even know how many teams the NBA has. They got a lot of teams in there, but I don't hear quite as many injury stories with that, because it's not really a big physical game. It's physical. You have to have stamina, because you've got to run up and down the court. You also have to have foreknowledge of defense, because you play both defense and offense. So you've got to be able to get the ball and shoot and protect the net and get turnovers. You also got to learn to try not to foul out, because you're held on a very short leash with your fouls. If you do 5 fouls, you're out a game. That's it. And if you're a really good player, that's very detrimental to your team. If you cause 5 fouls and you have to sit the rest of the game, their best players on the bench, they can't come back out. So. And then hockey, again, I'm not a big hockey person. And I guess the main reason why is because Baltimore doesn't have a basketball or hockey team. So I don't really pay much attention. But I know Washington has both. And so, I hear a little bit. And I listen to sports radio, so I hear a little bit about it. But hockey is a little bit more dangerous, because you're on ice and you're on a blade that's about this thin. Yeah, that's actually a better view of it. About that thin on ice, and you're going full speed, and you're ramming into people, and you're getting into fights. And these blades are sharp, and you can get your hands, your arms sliced, and then the fights that happen that punch people in the face, you could break your nose. The puck is solid, and it comes flying at you at 99, 100 miles an hour. It hits you in the face. You're messed up. Your face is going to get destroyed. I mean, your nose is going to get broken. Your cheekbones are going to get broken. You're going to be out there. And, you've got pads and stuff like that, but still you're going up and down on ice at a fast speed with a stick in your hand. People are going after the puck, and they're swinging these sticks, which are also sharp and heavy. That could cause damage too. So you hear a lot more about injuries in hockey, teeth especially. I mean, you ever see hockey players, and it may be considered a cliche, but it's true. They smile, they're missing like all their teeth, because they're getting hit in the face with these pucks coming at them 99, 100 miles an hour, and it shatters your teeth. There's not much you can do about that. That's freaking painful. So you're going to want big money to get paid for it, even though it seems a little outlandish, the amount of money that athletes get compared to the fact that all they do is create entertainment. It's the same as movie actors. They get paid a crazy amount of money if they are able to have a bunch of you know big hits. They are looked upon as being a good actor to have to make a lot of money. So when you get all this money all together, and yeah, a lot of people complain that that's not fair because what about teachers and firemen and army, the military forces? Why aren't they getting paid as much money as the athletes and stuff like that? And their work is a lot more dangerous and is also better for the world in general than two guys beating the crap out of each other in a boxing ring, or somebody hitting a small ball with a bat, or someone throwing a pigskin ball to another person scoring touchdowns. But you see, sports is big money because these workers, people who work, blue collar workers, white collar workers, people in these cities where there are teams, it gives them a release from their everyday life. It gives them a release from work, stress at work. It gives them a release from stress at home, money, stress, whatever. You go and you can watch, your heroes, beat each other up and hope that, they win you a championship and you get into a spotlight and you make lots of money. That's why, the NFL and the major leagues and hockey and basketball and even NASCAR somewhat all make a ton of money, is because people want that release. And so that's why they get paid all that money, because a teaching job or a fireman or policeman or military are not owned by a big businessman or woman, for that matter. These teams are owned by billionaires who have lots of money to spend, and they do other stuff with their money, but they also put money into their sport, and they get money back from television revenue and revenue buying hats and jerseys and stuff like that. And so it's fairly popular. I mean, even the television is amazing. I mean, the NFL is jumping up and down for joy the fact that St. Louis Rams are now the Los Angeles Rams, because Los Angeles, you think, would be the number one biggest television industry district in the America. It isn't. It's number two. Number one is New York City. But number two is Los Angeles. So now you've got two teams in the number one district. You've got one team with a potential of two teams in the number two district. And I think Chicago's number three. So you've got two teams in the number three. So right there, with those three cities, your television revenue is outstanding, because people want to watch these games. They want to watch their teams, so they can sell advertising space for the television rights, or to have the television rights, say a CBS or ABC or NBC, to have the rights to air the football games, which they know will bring a big audience, and then they can go to their advertisers and say, hey, we got the NFL, or we got Major League Baseball, or we got the NHL or NBA or NASCAR. And, we're going to have a ton of viewers. So if you want to sell something, you want to sell it during gaming, sporting events. So here, buy some advertising space. It's only $1 million or whatever, and the corporation's like, oh yeah, hell yeah, we'll do it, because they know they're going to get a big audience to watch commercials. Now we'll get into commercials and how ridiculous they are in a few minutes, and stuff like that. But we'll do that in a second. So now that's why these players can make so much money, and that's why maybe they can retire at the age of 27. But the problem is, a lot of them blow through their money very quickly because they're so young and they're not used to, having this much money at a big amount of time. Whereas I've gone through a lot in my 42 years, and in fact, the last 20 some years now, of basically being a grown up. And money is hard to come by for me. It's hard because I've got a lot. I've got debts out the wazoo. I've got more things coming. I need to find a new car. I need to make repairs to the house. I need to repair the cars we have. I need to make sure my kids have clothing and food. And yeah, and I'm not the only one. I mean, my wife, obviously, she's the breadwinner. She makes more money than I do. So the two of us together, we're able to afford the mortgage on our house. We are able to afford food and clothes for the kids and for ourselves, and entertainment stuff, internet, cable TV, or direct TV rather, I should say, and other things as well, to make it, a better life for them. But at the same time, there are periods of time where my wife and I were struggling with getting our bills paid. Our credit rating is probably in the toilet, which is in turn is going to make it difficult to buy a car, even though I need to buy a car, but I don't have enough money to do that. Plus, I'm getting dental surgery again on Thursday. So that's going to be more money out of our pocket because, yeah, the medical will pay some, but you also have to pay another amount because medical doesn't cover everything. So we got all this stuff. So I know that if I happen to get a $100 million contract to play a sport, or if I won the lottery, I'll know the first thing is, whoa, I'm going to save some, because I don't know. I've been there. I know that money can go really quickly if you think all of a sudden you get all this money and you buy the fancy cars and you buy the high-end clothes and shoes and food and drink, and you get a group of people that come hang out with you and other stuff, get involved, in maybe some illegal stuff like prostitution or drugs, stuff like that. It's going to cost a lot of money. And then before you know it, you have no money. So what are you going to do now? Because a lot of these players don't have a career to fall back on. There are a lot that do, and I'll give them credit. I'll give total credit to the football players, especially mostly football players, because a lot of them, they go to college for about a year or two, and then they can enter the draft if they want to. Same with the NBA. The NBA they can go to college and play for a couple years and then enter the NBA. I don't know. Maybe there's a rule now that high school kids can't do it, because there's a player by the name of Diamond Stone who was on the University of Maryland for 1 year. He was a freshman. He played 1 year, and now he's going to the draft. I don't think he should, because he hardly played. And when he did play, yeah, he showed some good signs, but he's not, the next LeBron or hi, buddy, the next LeBron or anything like that. He's a guy who is hoping that he's going to make a lot of money. And if he goes in the first round, then, you will make, thanks, buddy. He will make some money, but at the same time, he doesn't have a lot of, stuff to show for it. Bye, bud. A lot of stuff to show for it. What he did. I mean, he played a lot of games and he scored a lot of points, but that's just 1 year. And the people who are drafting are going to look at that and say, okay, he did all right, but it's still only 1 year. So I don't expect him to go in the top 5 or the top 10. I expect him, I don't even know if he's going to make it through the first round, but he seems to think he is, because he thinks he's a big deal, which is fine. It's good to make you think that you're a big deal. But, so he's leaving school after 1 year. And what can you actually learn in a year in college? Not a whole heck of a lot, because being on a college basketball team, during the fall and winter, you're doing a lot of traveling, because you're going to other schools to play basketball games. You're going to other places to play in the NCAA tournament and stuff like that. So you're missing a lot of school time because you're traveling, playing for your team. So, so what happens then? What if he gets injured and can't play again? What if he is a mediocre player in the NBA and doesn't get the big money? What is he going to fall back on? There are some players. Ray Lewis in football is a good example. He left, I guess, maybe his sophomore year in college, and got drafted, made a lot of money, was one of the best players in the NFL, and retired. And before he retired, during his later years, he came to realization, I'm getting older. By the time I retire, I'll be in my mid-30s. I still have 40 plus years left in my life, and I might have a lot of money, I might be set, but things can happen in that 40 years, especially with the way he played, with running into stuff and tackling and being a tough guy. You could have some lingering health issues. So the health issues are going to take all your money out. So what did he do? He went back to school and actually graduated with a degree. So that's good. There's also those players who stay all 4 years and play football all 4 years or play basketball all 4 years, and they graduate with a degree, so they have something to fall back on. I think those are the smart guys. Yeah, you may be a really good basketball player, but what if something happens to you after a year in the NBA and you only have a year of school? Would you go back to school then and get your doctorate? I don't know. You didn't seem to be all that interested in it, when you went into college. So I don't know. So now these players who are retiring so early, I don't know their situation because I don't follow them as closely, not that as I should, but I could care less, to be honest. I want to see them play the sport that they're good at, or cheer against them if they're against my team, or hope that maybe they'll make it to my team or whatever. So, I don't know what their background is. So, and I don't know if they have enough money in their accounts to survive on, or they're investing in stuff. But the fact that you're retiring 27 just seems a little odd for me. So it's either they're afraid of the injuries that could come and want to retire early, so they keep their faculties in the future, so they're not in their 40s or 50s and are initially brain dead for the most part because of the massive amounts of hits and stuff like that they got. Or are they being dicks about it and they're not getting the deals they want, so they say, F you guys, I'm not going to play. If I can't get $100 million, I'm not going to play anymore. And the NBA and the NFL are like, okay, see you later. Nice knowing you, because they've got tons of players who are waiting in the wings to come in. Now that also leads me back to talking about the money, big money that sports generates. I think if you look at all the major sports, NFL, MLB, football, baseball, basketball, and hockey. Thanks, Laura. Laura Norman says they're being dicks. I tend to agree with that, Laura, because they're not getting the deal they want because they are not as good as they were. But at the same time, though, you got to think maybe in the back of your mind, maybe they also are kind of afraid of the fact that, they've seen some of their heroes that they had growing up who are suffering, and some of those players who are suffering so much that they're committing suicide or have massive depression, or they've lost all their money, But I agree with you. I think the majority of the ones who are retiring early are like, oh, I didn't get the deal I want, so F you guys, I'm being a dick. So talking about big money, in the four major sports, and we can we'll talk about NASCAR in a second where I'm going with this, but football is probably the most financially solvent, I guess that's the proper word, sport. They have the most money, they get the most exposure and stuff like that. The Super Bowl is a big deal, and everyone loves football. Everyone wears their jerseys, and I think what makes football so big is the fact that it's a very limited schedule. It's 16 games plus, as I said earlier, 4 possible playoff games, 3-2 depending on your seedings, and 4 preseason games, and that's fairly palatable. That's only a few months, 3 or 4 months that you're covering on this, and it's once a week, so you're not seeing it ad nauseum. Whereas baseball is 162 games, so you're seeing baseball games every day, basically from April to October. And after a while, you like your team, but the sport itself can be fairly boring. If they're not hitting lots of home runs and stuff like that. If it's a pitcher's duel, it's excruciatingly boring. But you know what? In the scheme of baseball, pitcher's duels are great because 2 ace pitchers, making fools of those big money guys who were given $162 million contracts to hit home runs and lots of hits, are striking out 3 or 4 times in a game, and not scoring any runs. That's great in the scheme of baseball, but it's boring for the viewers. So football is fairly straightforward. It's action-packed, oriented. You've got 15, I'm sorry, it's 60 minutes basically. Yeah, I mean, the game is supposed to be an hour long. It's 3 hours long because of commercials and replay and halftime and timeouts and injuries and stuff like that. So and it's big money because they also have to do commercials that give them extra money and the television contracts they get and stuff like that. So I think football is the biggest sport financially that makes the most money. I think baseball is a close second. I think the NBA is third. I think NHL is fourth. But the NBA is doing something next season that I find a little off-putting. And that's just me. I mean, maybe it's my intense dislike of NBA because I'm not a big fan of the NBA. As I said, mainly because Baltimore doesn't have an NBA team. And also because, as I said, these kids spend 1 year in college and then expect to get drafted high and get a lot of money in basketball. And then they don't get drafted high and they get some money, but they get to play basketball and they still make some money out of it. And you get some big, LeBron James and Kobe and Michael Jordan. You still get the big players like that. And who's the guy from Steph Curry. But what the NBA is doing next year, which I have a bad feeling is going to make the NBA, not the NBA, the NFL and the major leagues go, and maybe even the NHL. They're taking a page from NASCAR. The NBA is going to start putting advertisements on their players' jerseys starting next year. So think about that. You see Steph Curry or LeBron James run down the court next year, and he's shooting a basket, and he shoots the basket, and on his shoulder is a small square for Leo's Auto Detailing. Okay. Now, why are you doing that? Oh, gee, I don't know. Money? It's free advertising. They go to Leo's Auto Detailing and say, hey, man, I can get you on the best player in basketball's jersey, and everybody's going to be watching him, and they're going to see Leo's Discount Auto or whatever, and they're going to go, oh, wow, Steph Curry's wearing that, or LeBron James is wearing that on his jersey. We got to go find a Leo's car auto place. So they're like, oh, yeah, we'll do that. It's free advertising. Why not? And so they will generate. I mean, it's not really free advertising. I mean, they probably are going to pay to have the ad placed on their jersey, but they are hoping that that will in turn draw more people to them. I might just be, it's probably not going to be local stuff. It'll probably be like a Comcast, or it'll probably be, Geico, or any of these big companies that have big, big, are big companies that are all across the United States. McDonald's, you might see the golden arches on LeBron James's jersey. You don't know. They're going to start doing that. Now, I don't know if the whole team is going to be advertised by, say, McDonald's, say all these San Antonio Spurs are going to be presented by McDonald's, or this player is going to be McDonald's, this player is going to be Geico, this player is going to be Pepsi-Cola. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. But it makes a bad precedent, because now the NFL and Major League Baseball is going to be like, now we already have advertising in our stadium. We're already making money off of the advertising that's on the TV. Why don't we start advertising on our jerseys as well? Baseball especially would be really good, because baseball is not a fast-moving sport. It's a lot of running bases and fielding and 3 outs per half inning, 6 outs per inning, and if you have a big inning, you could be out there for an hour, and you will be able to see these advertisements a little bit easier. NBA seems a little bit odd, because it's a small patch on the arm, and if you're watching it live or even on television, it's not going to be that visible unless it's like, say, McDonald's. You'll see the golden arches. So when they're running, the camera just happens to pan by a LeBron James or whatever, and you see the golden arches, like, oh, automatically it's McDonald's, it just seems odd to me. And it's more money. That's the whole thing. I think they're projecting $100 million is going to come into the NBA. That in turn can have them pay, give all that money to their teams, and then those teams can buy, bigger, better players and get more revenue from the people wanting to come see the possibility they can make it to the championship games. Look, I have no problem with people making money. I mean, you're businessmen. Businessmen own these teams. They want to make money. That's the whole point of owning these teams, to make money. But it just seems rather odd in a high-running sport, like, say, a basketball. You're going to have the advertising on the shoulder. I think the advertising in the stadiums or the arenas is not more effective, because when they're running up and down the court or on the field, the camera from the TV has got a pan of the whole field, and you're running up and down, and your eye is caught on that McDonald's billboard or whatever. And then they even have some in the major leagues now. I'll admit it, Camden Yards, my Orioles baseball team's stadium, they have an advertisement behind home plate, because the majority of when you're watching it on TV, you're looking at it from behind the pitcher. So you're looking at the batter. So you're looking behind the batter, and behind the batter is an ad, and it changes every inning or every half inning. I'm not sure. It's either on a spiral, so you can see it. So there might be 5 or 6 different ads on this thing, and it spirals per half ad. So you might have, for an inning, McDonald's, and then for another inning, Geico, and then for another inning, M&T Bank, something like that. So your eye is focused on that. Yeah, you're looking at the batter, but your eyes can sometimes wander because of where the shot is framed. I find that advertisements in stadiums and arenas is better than a very small patch on someone's arm, because you're not going to see it. Now, I don't know if they're still doing this, but I remember a few years back, boxing was getting into the realm of, they were going to have advertisements displayed on the boxers' backs. It would be digitally, I guess, so it would be for televised boxing. It would be shot back there. So, McDonald's would appear on Pacquiao's back while he's boxing. And that's fine, because in boxing, you got 2 guys going up against each other, and you're focused on that. It would be like a freaking billboard on the back of somebody. If they did that too, like a LeBron James or an NFL player or a baseball player, like that, that would be better if you want to, make money for advertising. But having a small patch on there, is, I guess, people are buying into it. So, because the NBA said they've got lots of people who want to do it, and they're going to make a lot of money. And that's where NASCAR comes in. NASCAR, that's what they do. They race their cars, and their cars are covered in advertising. Their drivers are covered in advertising. But you know what? That's how NASCAR makes their money. And I'm okay with that. I'm not upset about any of this, because you're a businessman. You want to make money. I just find it odd that they're going to start putting advertising on people's jerseys now. And it's a bad precedent, because, all right, maybe I don't like the idea of it, to have advertising on your jersey. But it's really no different than, when you buy a new car and around your license plate, you've got the Coons Auto Group frame around it. You're basically giving them free advertising, and that's fine, because you're a company. That's what you do. You want to make money. So, as I said, it just seems like a bad precedent. And then the NBA and NFL is going to be like, you know what, maybe we should start doing that. Or maybe they'll start putting advertisements on the actual field. What do you think about that? You got your quarterback going back, and you've got the aerial view of the field, and he's throwing a long bomb, and your wide receiver catches it, and he's running down the field. And as he's running down the field, he runs over the Geico ad or a McDonald's ad or whatever. Your eye is going to focus on that. Oh, wait, there's McDonald's, and it's going to subliminally say, I need to go to McDonald's and get something to eat. I don't know. Subliminal. Anyway, I just found it odd. And that's going to spiral into my commercials, because people who know me, I hate commercials. I understand why you have commercials. You need to make money. You need to get, word out about your company, your product, whatever. That's fine. And I'm okay. Look, with television, you are able to, if you're DVRing a show, you can fast forward through the commercials. If you're watching it live, you can tweet or Facebook or look at your phone nowadays. You can ignore the advertising on TV. Or you can turn to another channel if you're like, okay, Walking Dead's on a commercial. I'm going to skip it. I know it's about 5 minutes of commercial, so I'll skip back. And then every once in a while, I'll hit my previous channel or type in the channel and see if it's back on, and then check back out again. That's dangerous too, because you might miss the beginning of the next sequence of the show. But my problem with commercials is the fact that they are trying so damn hard to be funny that they get to the point that they are more annoying than they are funny. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, these, you know, the thing is they are, they're trying hard to create funny characters. Some of successful advertising, yes, has had, like the cavemen from Geico, or the Where's the Beef Lady, or any of these, Ronald McDonald's, or the Hamburglar, or stuff like that. You get characters, who or what's that, the guy Mischief or whatever, the guy for, I guess, car insurance or whatever, who is some action guy, and he pretends to be causing damage to your car and stuff like that. Mischief, or I forget what his name is. So you're trying to real hard to create characters so you can bring back, you can have a sense of, oh, let's see, oh, it's the newest episode with Flo from Progressive. I know a lot of people hate Flo, but she's been successful for Progressive for the past few years. So, and they get annoying because they're trying so hard to be funny. A good example is the newest one now is the Verizon chick. The chick in the Verizon store, it's the same actress, and she's always dealing with, strange customers. Like the most recent one I saw was, she's showing that you can show streaming video of 16 Candles and National Lampoon's Vacation and Weird Science. And she's like, oh, I wonder what Anthony Michael Hall's doing right now. And it's Anthony Michael Hall next to her looking at this stuff, and says he might be in a Verizon store watching videos of himself. And she's like, yeah, whatever, nothing, or smiles or grins or whatever, doesn't even know it's him. And that's supposed to be funny. Another example of the Verizon chick is it goes to radio now, where I hear this one on the radio all the time because I listen to radio at work, where, it's this woman and this man who come in, and how they can spin over their minutes, and she explains it because I recognize the voice. It's the same Verizon chick from the TV commercials. She explains that you can roll over your minutes, whatever, and then the guy's like, let's hug, and the other chick is like, yeah, let's do it, and she's like, oh no, it's okay, and then she's like, oh, and they're hugging, and then there's like, and we're hugging, still hugging, who smells like bacon, and then that's the end of the commercials. Like, that's not funny, it's stupid. And these Geico commercials, Geico has a million different advertising ideas. They had the caveman. They haven't done the caveman in a while because they haven't been as successful anymore with them. They have, with some of the other Geico ones they have, they had, I can't think of them right now. There's a whole bunch of different Geico commercials. Then we get to the radio. You've got, different ones as well. And they're all annoying. If I hear a commercial that's annoying, I'm not going to buy the product. And at the same time, you might not buy a product from something this is what Geico does. We make insurance. We've done insurance for 75 years. You can save up to $50 a year or something like that, $500 a year, whatever. Gives you all the details without any of the humor, whatever, like that. You're going to be bored with that as well. I understand that as well. But when you're trying to force being funny, or think that people want to see a character like a Flo from Progressive, who, let's admit it, is fairly annoying. And especially now on the commercials for radio, they have her singing different types of music and styles of music because, hey, we're on the radio, let's have her sing different styles of music talking about Progressive. Okay. I find commercials that are trying to be funny more annoying than funny. Are there funny commercials out there? Oh yeah, of course there are. There's tons of funny commercials out there. And that's what everybody's trying to do. They're trying to be that next funny water cooler commercial that everybody's going to be talking about. But the fact is, everyone is trying to do that. And 98% of the people are failing. Commercials are stupid. I'm sorry, they are. especially when you're trying to force it. If you do just a typical thing, like car commercials are pretty, not substandard, but they're pretty standard. You pick a popular song and you show the car doing this and that, and it gives you the pricing. That's fine. That gives you information. It's like, you know what? I could afford a $425 a month payment on a car, and that's a gorgeous looking car, and it has all these amenities. And look, it's riding through the mountains, and that's gorgeous. That's fine. There's no silly person going, "Hey, look at me! I'm driving through the countryside." Yeah. I don't know. Laura Norman's actually been tweeting me up, which is awesome. Since I'll do the one you just tweeted me, Laura. I will go out of my way to not get a product or stop using it if the commercial annoys me. Amen, sister. Thank you. And that's from what we were discussing. Then we were discussing previously. Let me just open this up because there's more to it. Around the field or the arena is enough. Jerseys, no, I'm not going to buy something because it's on a jersey. I agree with that as well. I just find it very off-putting, the fact that they are thinking that that's going to be successful, and that the person who's able to convince them, yeah, a little square this big is going to give you a lot more traffic. Basketball's a high-paced game. You'll see a brief second of it. They're not going to zoom in on that advertisement and say, "Oh, look at that, he's wearing an advertisement." So, but annoying commercials are annoying. Funny commercials can be funny. Yes, there are some funny commercials out there, but in the end, am I going to buy something because it has a funny commercial? Not necessarily. Let's see, Laura also said, the jingle was the best way to sell product. Gets it stuck in your head. It's amazing. Yes, I agree with that too. But at the same time, if it's an annoying jingle, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Actually, that one's not too bad because I like that new commercial where, they say that jingle and then the insurance people disappear and go to where they are called to. So it says, all right, we've seen it from the side of the people who've had the accident. Now let's see what it's from the insurance people. So you have them at work and they're having it, getting ready to sing happy birthday to somebody. And then that person whose birthday it is disappears because they're called away to help with insurance. And then the other guys blow out the candles and he says he could be gone for hours. And that's funny as hell. Or the one where they're playing a community softball game, because, companies do that. And so you have the State Farm team taking on, like, say, the McCormick team, which the McCormick team would kick their ass anyway. But that's besides the point. Then, the outfielder is getting ready to play a fly ball and they disappear because they're being called away. And yes, Laura, I know exactly what you said. Yes, it's annoying. The jingle is annoying, but you remember them. Yes, that is correct. And at the same time, you could say that to the annoying commercials. You can say, oh man, the McDonald's commercial was really annoying with, such and so. But yeah, you do remember the jingle is the thing that really sticks with you. I guess the annoying commercial with the stupid, trying to be funny character or whatever doesn't stick with you as much because you find yourself every once in a while, no matter how much you hate, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, say stuff like that. You find yourself saying it every once in a while if you hear a trigger word or something like that. So what's Laura saying now? I can remember the one from when I was a kid and still sing every one of them. Yeah, you can too. And yeah, the jingle is the good thing. And yes, it can be annoying, but you are absolutely right, Laura. It's annoying, but it's stuck in your head, and that's exactly what they did. I've also always been fascinated with commercials also. I mean, the making of commercials, because you get, especially ones on radio especially, but even ones on television right now, you hear some cool music sometimes in the background that aren't necessarily songs that are on the radio. It's music that was created by somebody. So how does an advertiser say, you know what I need for my commercial? I want something that's ethereal, but poppy. And you go to your, I guess you have a musician on staff and said, hey, can you, or you have somebody say, can you find me an ethereal poppy song? And do they go on the internet and look for ethereal poppy songs, or do they actually have somebody who creates the music on the side for them? Some of the music is really cool, and it gives you a feeling, and that's another thing also is that a good advertiser will use very descriptive terms and maybe a specific type of music that's not overbearing, but is enough that it has certain hints to it that remind you of stuff like, snow. If they want to try to sell you something about snow or skiing or something like that, you get a kind of a Christmassy bell type of theme in there because you've heard somehow your mind is able to, from whatever movies, TV shows, whatever, that the sound of snow, snow, you think snow, you think Christmas sometimes. So you get some, like a little bit of a snippet of Christmas music or a tinkling bell or something like that. And it automatically makes you think of snow. Or wind is another good one. There's a song that I love. It's actually, talking about snow. Is a song that's on Winter Solstice, which is a series of albums from Windham Hill, which is a new age type of music. I like new age music, a new age type of music where there's not really a lot of lyrics. It's just more ethereal type of music. And there's a song that I always play, if a snowstorm is coming overnight or whatever. It's called At Night the Snow is Falling or something like that. And the first snippet of the song is like a and it's got like this wind. It's got sort of a windy feel to the music that makes you think automatically of wind and snow, and peace, because snow, despite the fact that it's a pain in the ass to shovel, to drive in, or whatever, when it's actually snowing, like late at night, you're home in your house, nice and warm, and you look outside and you see the snow falling, or you wake up early in the morning and the sun is rising and the sky is red and pink like that. It's a peaceful feeling. Snow is. Yeah. And then it lasts for a little while, but then you're like, oh shit, now I got to go, plow, I got to go shovel my car out. I got to shovel the sidewalk. The kids are going to be off school. So who's going to, take off of work and use their vacation time? And how am I going to get out of my neighborhood because we got 3 feet of snow on the ground? I can't drive my car out of it. No one's plowed yet, Then it starts to get annoying, and then it gets cold and wet and stuff like that. But, that's when you're a grown up. When you're a kid, it's magical because you get out of school and you get to play in the snow, build snowmen, throw snowballs. And good commercials are able to, if they want to sell that, they can use descriptive terms or music or visions, pictures that will make you think of, I'd like to buy a Range Rover, and, what's Range Rover good for? It's riding in the snow, or in the fall, you want to go explore the beautiful forest, but you don't want to take the road that everybody takes. You want to take the road less traveled, so you can do an off-road type of thing, and you find yourself overlooking this gorgeous valley or whatever. I like those kind of commercials because it gives you a specific feeling. The music gives you a specific feeling of memory. There's a commercial that's played on the radio all the time. I can't remember what it's for, but it's like for banking or something like that. But during the summer season, when they're trying to sell a bank during the summer, they use what can be construed as like summery music. Summer is sunny and warm and country, and you think about that stuff, and it's hard to describe, but it's a specific feeling that the really good advertisers are able to bring out of you, or the names of their specific products. I work in a uniform company, and one of our vendors is Tri-Mountain, and they do shirts and coats and stuff like that. But unlike other companies, they have specific names for a certain style of shirt. The Thunderbolt, the Starshine, the Thunder, the Snowstorm, the Mountain. And, it fits with what, like the Starshine could be a light short sleeve black shirt that you wear during the summer, which reminds you of summer looking up at the stars 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night when the sun is just set and you're looking at the stars and it's warm enough you can, play out in the backyard or whatever, the old days. And yes, let's be honest, a lot of advertising is going to be geared towards, I hate to say it, the 25 to 50-year-old range, because those are the people who have the most income to spend, disposable income. And I guess after you get the age of 50, then you start getting into, they got to start thinking about retirement and getting older, and they've got to start saving more money. So they might not want to buy quite so much stuff because they've been around for 50 years. They don't need a lot of stuff. Their kids are all grown up or, stuff like that. So they don't need a lot of stuff. So they don't focus more on that. But they try to bring you back to a specific time or whatever. Another good example is the descriptive terms. Again, with my uniform company, there are, and we joke about this at work because there are like 50 different names for the color blue. Sky blue, nightfall blue, navy, midnight navy, Caribbean blue, ocean blue. And they're all different kinds of shades. But let's face it, they're all blue, or they're light blue, or they're dark blue, or they're navy. But what they want to do is they want to midnight navy t-shirt. Midnight makes you think of when you were younger as a kid, maybe, looking out at the stars during the summer, or when you get older, midnight, where you're getting frisky and you might make love to your spouse or whatever. It makes you, or just midnight, being out partying with your friends. Midnight. Just the mention of midnight gives you a specific feeling. Or Caribbean blue. It might be light blue. It looks like light blue, but it's Caribbean blue. Because the Caribbean Ocean looks like that blue color. And you say the word, it's not light blue, it's Caribbean blue. And it makes you think of the Caribbean. I wish I was at the Caribbean, swimming in the ocean, cocktail in my hand, playing in the sand, frolicking in the surf, doing parasailing, scuba diving, whatever, drinking rum, So descriptions can really hit you also. So that's where the advertisers do really well. And they should do more descriptive and less, hey, look at me. I'm a goofy character who's going to try to sell you something to drink. Oh, look at this. I'm going to be real excited. This is Raspberry Bing. Raspberry. Actually, it's called Bing Raz. So it's raspberry flavor. But you hear raspberry, you know exactly what you're going to be getting. It's raspberry flavor. Yummy. So that's my discussion with commercials. All right, so I still have Laura, I'm assuming, watching. So I'm going to move on now to some more nerdy, geeky stuff. And then I might head back to something else right now. What time is it right now? I've been on for about an hour, so I still got about an hour to kill. All right, so let's start getting into some other stuff. Let's talk trailers. That sound good, Laura? Movie trailers. There have been four big ones that came out over the last 2 weeks or something like that. And I've done this with my solo shows a lot, where I sit down and I try to dissect the trailer or take a look at it and see if it does its job. Because what a movie trailer is supposed to do is supposed to get you excited for an upcoming film or something else. In this case, we had 4. We have a teaser trailer for Doctor Strange. We have the new longer trailer for Suicide Squad. You've got the first full-length trailer for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and you've got the first full trailer for, was it more? I guess it was kind of more of a teaser, I guess, for Star Wars Rogue One, or Rogue Squad, or one of those, Rogue One or Rogue Squad. I'm not sure. So let's hit those, various things. Doctor Strange is the first look at the Doctor Strange film that's going to come out in November. Again, just to get back to what I was just saying, November, you say the word November. What do you think of immediately? Thanksgiving, having a 4-day weekend, football. That's what it reminds me of. Anyway, November, Doctor Strange is coming out. He just finished filming Doctor Strange a couple weeks ago, the principal photography. Now they're going to spend the next few months working on the special effects, because there's probably a lot of them. We've seen Benedict Cumberbatch in his Doctor Strange costume, and I like it. I talked about that in my comic show with MJ. absolutely perfect. There's a silly meme out now, which we'll probably see why they did it when they add the special effects, but it had Benedict and some other characters who look like they were just knocked down get up and start skipping across the road. No, skipping, not, they're like do, and it's become a meme now. So everybody's like, oh, that's crazy. And so Doctor Strange is done filming principal photography. Now they're doing all they're doing all the special effects. So they released their first teaser this week. It does exactly what it's supposed to be. It's like 30 seconds long, maybe 40 seconds long, and it gives you a general idea of what the feeling is. You don't see him in his costume. You're basically getting, a lot of people don't know who the hell Doctor Strange is. So you're basically getting a crash course of who he is in this teaser trailer. You see, and this isn't a spoiler because this is what the character is. He is a world-renowned surgeon. He's kind of a dick, to be honest. He's kind of a dick about how great he is. And he's such a dick that one day he goes out, he gets drunk, and he starts to drive. He's drunk driving, which you're not supposed to do. And he gets into a car accident, and he loses the feeling in his hands, which sucks if you're a world-renowned surgeon. Your hands are your most important instrument. Now you don't have your hands. You can't be a world-renowned surgeon. Guess what? You're fucked. All right? It's true. It really is. So in his throes of depression, he decides to go find himself, and he ends up going to either Nepal or something like that, some very spiritual type of place, and we meet the Ancient One, which is causing a lot of issues because in the comics the Ancient One is an Asian character. In this, it's not Cate Blanchett, it's the other actress, I can't think of her name, who plays kind of weird characters. She's a bald, and she's now the Ancient One, and she's giving the powers, teaching him how to use, pushing him, you can't use your hands to be surgeon anymore, but you can use them to harness the supreme magic, because there's magic in the world. And so we see her teaching him some of the Tilda Swinton, that's what it is, teaching him how to use his powers. And so you get just a couple shots of darkness and some bad guys, and then the one that jolts you is Doctor Strange is able to leave his body in spirit form, and you can actually see the spirit form, and he's able to fly around the magic thing. They show how the Ancient One teaches him how to do it by forcing the spirit out of his body, and the spirit pops out, and it's a gorgeous ending to that. They've revealed some of the teaser posters that are going to be hanging up in your movie theaters that show him in his costume. So you've got that, but in the first teaser trailer, you don't see, and you don't get to see a exactly what's going on, because this is going to be a psychedelic trip. And I cannot wait to see it, because Doctor Strange is one of the most bizarre comics out there, but it is so cool. And I think they're going to get it right. They got the costume right. I think Cumberbatch is a good choice. So we'll see. But it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It teased it enough that made me go, I can't wait for November now. I want to see it. So that's Doctor Strange. The next big one that's coming out, I think it's November, December, I think, is the first full-length trailer. We had a teaser already, but the first full-length trailer of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which is the new Harry Potter movie, but it's not Harry Potter. Harry Potter and his story, Hermione and Ron and Dumbledore, they're not even there. Well, Dumbledore is, but Harry, Hermione, and Ron aren't even born yet, because this movie takes place in the 1920s, and it follows Newt Scamander, who is we find out in this trailer, was a student at Hogwarts that got kicked out because he of his interest in dangerous beasts that cause problems at Hogwarts. He has a fan, and they name dropped him. He has a fan in Dumbledore, who isn't the headmaster yet, but he's a professor there. And so Newt decides that he's going to go to America and explore a little bit. And he's got a suitcase full of his creatures. And so you basically are getting a more full idea of what the movie's going to be like, and it is so cool. I mean, the coolest thing is he comes in with his suitcase, and this is like 1920s America, and he's got to get everything checked. And the guy's asking me, "Do you have any food? Do you have any livestock?" And you can see he's like, "No," but you know that he's got something there. And he clicks a dial on the suitcase before the guy opens it, because before then you're hearing all kinds of noise and the thing was moving. So he moves this dial, and they open up, and his clothes and stuff are in there. And we know that the animals are in there also. But this is kind of cool. And then some of them, of course, they get out, and you see other magic stuff. You hear the name of Dumbledore. You see people using wands against each other, and you see crazy magic stuff like Newt's suitcase opens up, and he goes in, and then he calls for his friend to follow him into the suitcase. And you see some of the fantastic beasts. You see like a Niffler and some other stuff flying around, and just it seems like a very cool action-packed. More action-packed, I think, than the Harry Potter films were. And it's set in the same universe, just a much earlier time. You could call it a prequel if you want, but there's going to be no mention of Harry Potter, or even his parents, probably, because they weren't even born at that time either. So this is like Harry's grandparents. If they are going to do a Potter thing, it'll be his great-great-parents. But I don't think they will, because they're focusing on America, because it's one area where J.K. Rowling really didn't touch on is, magic schools. We know of at least 3 due to Goblet of Fire. But J.K. Rowling herself said there's a ton more all over the world, including one in America. And so she did something on Pottermore where she revealed a 4-part history about the American Hogwarts, which I forget what the name of it is, and stuff like that. But they've had some rough times, and we're going to explore those in this film. So we're going to see the American Hogwarts, and there's a possibility we could see other former students or students from other magic schools that aren't Hogwarts, Beauxbatons, or Durmstrang as well. So just this trailer for Fantastic Beasts, and Laura, you said you missed all these. I highly recommend you go on YouTube, you try to find all of them. Doctor Strange is excellent. The new Fantastic Beasts, if you like the Harry Potter movies, you're going to love this. It looks fantastic. I'm excited for that as well. I think it's December when it's coming, but I could be wrong. It could be November also. It would make more sense to be in November, because that's when the Harry Potter movies usually debuted as well. So if you want to stick close to the Harry Potter things, the time, even though you're in the same world but at different times, that'd be the best time. And J.K. said it's 3 movies. She wrote this movie, Fantastic Beasts. So it's new J.K. Rowling writing in movie form. So I'm excited for that, and I can't wait to see that. Next up is one that is coming in December. Star Wars Rogue Squadron, I think is what it's called. Star Wars 1 Rogue Squadron 1 or something. It's Rogue Squadron 1 or something like that. But it's the first of the Star Wars movies that Disney's going to do, which is going to focus on past stories. So what Disney wants to do is they've got a new trilogy. We saw the first one in The Force Awakens, came out last year. The second part of that trilogy is coming out in 2017. And then the third part is coming out in 2019. So to fill that year gap, they want to have a Star Wars movie come out every year. So now they've got Rogue Squad 1 or 1 Rogue Squad. As I said, I don't remember the name of it right now. Coming out in December in the time slot where Force Awakens was. Then they've got, I think, in 2018 is going to be the Han Solo movie, because I think they just cast young Han Solo in that, and that movie is going to be directed by the guys that did the Lego movie. So I think that's the one that's coming out. And that one's coming out in May, though, unless they move it back of 2018, because they want to try to get it back to the Star Wars in May type thing they used to do. But we saw the teaser for Star Wars Rogue Squadron 1 or Rogue Squad 1, and it looked good, but there wasn't really a lot of information in this one. This new trailer, oh yeah, you get a lot more, and it looks good. It basically takes place, I don't know, 6 months, 3 months, 6 months before Star Wars A New Hope, because it basically follows a group of people who were the ones that stole the plans for the first Death Star. Not the second one where the Bothans died. This is the first one where they got it and put it into R2-D2. There's rumors that Darth Vader's going to make an appearance in it. Obviously, there's rumors that somewhere along the line, R2D2 or even a Princess Leia lookalike is got to show up because she has the plans. How do they get the plans? So how did Leia get the plans to put into R2D2? Well, you get it from this people. So we don't know how they got it. So you think they'd be there. You're also going to get, a look at Peter Cushing's, I can't think of it, Grand Moff Tarkin. Supposedly they are going to, once again, rumored, I don't know if it's true or not, they're going to use Peter Cushing's likeness as Grand Moff Tarkin, but it's going to be computer generated since Peter Cushing's been dead for years and he can't use them. So, but to keep him, to give it that balance of symmetry and similarity and stuff like that. So you got that. But this trailer, you get introduced to the main character, who is a female. So you have another female lead, which is really cool, who is a thief on her own right and is wanted by the rebellion or whatever, but then gets hired to lead a group to steal the Death Star plans. And you get all kinds of shots of stormtroopers and guys in white costume that aren't stormtroopers, like a white cape and stuff like that. You get dark cape people. You've got all kinds of really crazy worlds and spaceships and stuff like that. But it looks like a Star Wars film, and it looks like a more personal, non-homage to Star Wars as the Force Awakens was. Force Awakens was a definite homage to the original Star Wars trilogy. This one looks like it's going to be its own entity that's going to have to do it. I mean, you have the one shot of the Death Star getting its final piece put in, and you're going to have the stormtroopers, obviously, and you're going to have X-Wing fighters and stuff like that. But, it looks more like this is going to be like an Ocean's 11 type of film about how this group of rogues is able to steal the plans for the Death Star. So again, check that one out also. The final one is it is well known, my disdain for the DC Comics cinematic universe. Hated Man of Steel. Have no desire to see Batman versus Superman. From what I've heard, and I've been reading both sides of the argument. This is it is a huge argument, but I tend to side with my co-host MJ Khan, who saw it and absolutely detested it. I tend to side with them and the critics instead of the ones who are, oh, you don't understand it, which is BS. It's not. It's more complicated than a Marvel movie. Well, yeah, because it makes no damn sense from what I've heard. As I said, I can't really make any comments on it, but Batman vs. Superman is just the first DC Cinematic Universe film that's coming out this year. There's a second one, and that's Suicide Squad. It's actually been moved back now. I thought it was going to come out in July, but now they've got it as the first weekend of August, which was where we remember Guardians of the Galaxy had its big $96 million weekend, and I think they're probably hoping for that same lightning to strike in a bottle. And the big thing about that is it's been a lot of talk about Jared Leto's Joker. He's been taking up the majority of the discussion, and it's also going to focus on Harley Quinn. Once again, I'm horrible with names. I see her name, but I can't think of the actress's name who's playing Harley Quinn. But I've never really been a big fan of the actress, and I don't like this iteration of Harley Quinn that they've got in the film. And then you've got Will Smith cast as Deadshot. Deadshot's a great character, but he's not Will Smith, and you've got all these other, actors and actresses coming in, because the Suicide Squad in itself is a great idea and was a great comic when it first came out in the late 80s, early 90s, written by John Ostrander. And basically had the premise of, sometimes there are some jobs that you don't want to send your armed forces or your superheroes in to take on. So what you do is you pick out a group of villains who are incarcerated. You put explosive devices on their hands, and you brief them saying, we're ordering you to go to such and so a place and do such and so a thing, which is too dangerous for everybody else. So there's a really good opportunity that you're going to die. However, you all have a certain skill set which you might actually survive better than some other people because you don't have the the fear, the anxiety of killing people or destroying property. You're villains. That's what you do. You kill people, you destroy property. You don't give a rat's ass about anything. And so because of that attitude, we're going to send you on this assignment. And if you try to run away, we'll blow your freaking arm off and you'll bleed out and you'll die because it's attached to your femoral artery or whatever the big artery is in your hand that's going to make all the blood shoot out of you very quickly. You're going to die. And yes, you may die on the, on protecting the planet or whatever, doing your job as well. But if you succeed and you're able to stop the bad guy or stop whatever it is, we can commute your sentence a little bit and get you out quicker. So it's typical. It's a deal. It's a deal you make. You say, you do this for us. You scratch our back. We'll scratch your back. So of course, most of these villains are like, you know what? That's fine with me. It'll give me a chance to get out. I've been itching to shoot people or destroy things or do whatever. And the fact that I could be able to get closer to freedom and cause them to do the same things again, this time I will do it differently. Won't get caught. Makes them very happy. And so they gather, group them together, and they go and send them to a place, and they do the job. It's a great premise. And if someone dies, no big deal. They were bad guys anyway. I've always said that. If you want to declare war on a country, or you want to take out like an ISIS or an evil country, whatever, send the prisoners. The evil prisoners, the murderers, the not the rapists, but send the murderers, the people who have no qualms about killing people, and do the same thing. Attach a miniature bomb to their arm, so they try to run away. Keep track of them with implants, stuff like that. They try to run away, whatever. Or if they decide, I want to attack innocent people, you can blow their arms off again. Also, keep track of them, whatever. You send them out there to terrorize and kill people. And this might not sound very Christian, and I'm Christian, especially on a Sunday, but you know what? If they lose their lives, no big deal. They're criminals. They were going to lose their lives. They're on death row anyway. They were probably going to get killed, executed anyway. So why not give them a chance to maybe go out and redeem themselves? Because maybe some of these guys, they feel bad about what they did, but they still have this anger or whatever that's causing them to kill people. Give them a chance to, go out there and get that anxiety or pressure off, by killing the bad guys. And if you survive, hey, we'll commute your sentence from death sentence to 15 years in jail with a chance of parole, or we'll give you parole. We didn't give you parole before, but we'll put you up for parole and see if you get out, stuff like that. I've always said that that'd be a good idea, is to actually have actual suicide squads to go out, filled with, people who are not nice, and try to have them redeem themselves. Or if you want to call it, sheep, who are going to die anyway, let's just get them out there. Maybe they can take some of the bad guys with them. It makes sense. But I mean, it's cold what I just said, but that's sort of the premises of Suicide Squad. And it's a neat idea. Now, when I heard that, Margot Robbie is the name of the actress playing Harley Quinn. So when I heard the casting, I heard the stuff, I was like, okay. And then I saw the first teaser trailer for it. I was like, it's focused on the Joker, and he's being very Joker-esque. And I was like, this is interesting. And I was like, they failed again, But then this new trailer came out, and I said, I'll watch it again. I actually enjoyed this trailer a lot more than I did the first one that came out. And I still have issues with it. I have issues with the fact that Will Smith seems to be being Will Smith for Deadshot, and that's not who Deadshot is. But what changed my mind slightly about him as Deadshot is, it's Will Smith, so you're not going to put Deadshot's iconic mask on him, which is it's a white mask with a big red dot, which is his scope that he uses to shoot people, because he's an assassin. He's a dead shot. That's exactly what it is. He can kill somebody easily because he's that good. Even when they're running, even if they're 20, 30 miles away, well, not 30 miles, but 20, 30 feet away, he can kill them pretty easily. So he uses that mask, and that's his iconic mask. But I thought, okay, they cast Will Smith. I don't care that in the comics he's white. I don't care if you have a black actor playing Deadshot. I really don't give a rat's ass. As long as you have the mask, I'm good with that. And when he was cast, it's like, well, Will Smith is very popular. They're going to want to take the mask off him as often as can. Maybe they'll just put the red thing over his regular face. And I was like, okay, I guess I can get with that, but it's dumb. But then in this trailer, I saw him wearing the mask. I was like, okay, that's cool, you know? Something happened upstairs. I don't hear anybody crying, so hopefully they're okay. So yeah, I had, and then Margot Robbie still rubs me the wrong way, but she's still sexy as hell. And she's got the one shot where she's, putting on her shirt over her bra and panties. Like, oh, that's kind of nice, because I'm a big dumb male. I'll admit that totally. But it looks action packed, and yeah, it looks like it might have a little bit more humor than say Superman, Batman has. But that was my problem, is that you don't want to have too much humor in your movies, because these Marvel movies that are considered humorous are not laugh riots. Ant-Man, while it seemed like it was a laugh riot, it had a lot of serious things about a dad trying to make it right on his daughter, or Guardians of the Galaxy had that heartbreaking first 5-10 minutes where his mother dies of cancer, and then you get other stuff in there as well. The ending, yes, they had the dance off, but they sacrificed their lives for a planet that doesn't like them, or when Groot dies, and just the anguish on Rocket's face, and then when Drax tries really hard to comfort Rocket, it's that appears to be funny, but at the same time, it's emotional too, and that's where Marvel succeeds over DC doesn't. They don't have that balance of humor and pathos. All the DC movies have pathos and maybe a smidge of humor. Suicide Squad, that looks like it's going to be able to even out the balance. It's going to be more action packed than say pathos. But then the other thing, but it looks a little bit more entertaining. But then another thing that gets to me about that is DC knows who their bread and butter is. They know Batman is their bread and butter. Thanks, Laura, for hanging out with me. Laura's got to run, so bye, Laura. Batman's their bread and butter, so they're going to want to focus on Batman as much as they can. That's why Batman vs Superman is not really a sequel to Man of Steel. It's a Batman movie where Superman just happens to appear in it. And then in this Suicide Squad, you're going to see Ben Affleck's Batman in that as well, because they want to try to, as again, they're trying to do what Marvel's doing. They want to have a contiguous, film universe, and by doing that, okay, here's Ben Affleck's Batman. He was just in Batman vs Superman, and now here he is in Suicide Squad. So they've got to be taking place in the same time zone, and so you get Batman taking on Joker again. And that's the thing also, Joker's not a part of the Suicide Squad. He never was in any iteration. He never was, because he's too much of a wild card. But in this case, it looks like he might be the bad guy in it, so he might not be part of the Suicide Squad. But still, why do you have to put the Joker in? It just, that's what's, and now you got a lot of more Batman in it also. So this trailer showed a lot more Batman in it as well, because Batman Superman is successful. So it's like, okay, you like to see you like Ben Affleck Batman and Batman Superman. Hey, he's going to be in the Suicide Squad movie. Why don't you come watch that as well? But to me, I like this second Suicide Squad trailer better. Will I go out of my way to see the film? Maybe not. But if I have some time, I might like to check it out. It looks entertaining. And the Suicide Squad is always such a great idea anyway. And despite I think Margot Robbie is hot, but I just don't like her as an actress. And just the fact you get to see her in her bra and panties is nice, because I am, as I said, big dumb male. So those are the trailers you want to take a look at. So look them all up. They all look pretty good. I think I might skip my history and my life in comics. I'm getting close to the end of my time. I got about a half hour. I got some more stuff to cover. Let's talk about Free Comic Book Day, because that's something that I want to talk about. One of the reasons why I'm doing this show and discussing it now. Again, I can't always expect that the same people are going to be watching my shows. So there may be somebody who watches my comic show but doesn't watch this show, or there's somebody who doesn't watch my comic show but watches this show. I don't know how it works, because I really don't know. I know how many viewers I get on my videos, which aren't a lot, but you know what? I'm not doing this for viewers. I'm doing this for my damn self, and I like doing this. I'm gonna keep doing it till I'm done with it. I don't care if I have only one view on my video. I'm still gonna do it for myself because I like doing this. But I digress. Anyway, so I want to talk about Free Comic Book Day. Now, I'll touch on this. I'll touch on it slightly. I have worked in a comic book store as just a regular comic book worker. That was like one of my first jobs I ever had, was working in my local comic store. I've worked in a warehouse for a summer in between college for a few months, just doing warehouse stuff, packing orders, pulling orders for customers, stuff like that. I spent, let me see, about 4 years in Diamond Comics, which is the only distributor of comics in the world, where I was a customer service rep for about 3 years and 3 months, where I basically I had a definitive store area, like a territory. In this case, I worked the late shift, 11 to 8, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, because my stores were out on the West Coast, which is a 3-hour difference. So to that's 8 to 5 California time. So I had to be there because 11 to 8, 3 hours back on there is 11, 10, 9. It's 8 to, it's 8 to 5. But, you know, if I worked a 9 to 5 shift, that would be 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., which most stores might not open until 12, 11 or 12. So I would only have a small amount of time with them before I'd have to leave. So we have different groups of customer service reps depending upon where they cover. So the ones who cover East Coast stores, they work 9 to 6. Those who work Midwest, 10 to 7. And then those who work West Coast, 11 to 8. We also have foreign properties, which the majority of them tended to be 9 to 6. And they did most of their stuff via, this is before really the internet, or the internet was just it was the early 2000s. So I guess the internet was still around, but it was kind of slowish. Internet, emails, telephone calls, faxes, and the stores might be closed, but they would do all this stuff. And if there were any problems, they can call. I don't know exactly how the international work, but the international staff tend to work at 8 to 4 or something like that. So depending on where their area was, I guess you advance it ahead a little bit. So they might get a little bit of time with them, but then, you know, their store might close, or their store might be open until 8 o'clock at night, which would be like 4 o'clock our time. You know, I don't know. So it depends. So I worked the West Coast from 11 to 8. I had the whole state of Alaska. I had Sacramento. I had Los Angeles. And I had, you know, various other little cities here in California as well. And I took over a couple up in the Pacific Northwest, up in Seattle and stuff like that. But yeah, so those were my accounts. So I dealt with them. And then for 9 months, I was a brand manager, which meant that I handled the stuff. I talked to the reps who were creating comics and buying comics from them and getting them to, you know, posting their newest issues in our previews catalog and convincing them to do special covers and stuff like that. And that was a little bit of a rougher job because there really was no training manual on how to train somebody on being a brand manager. So my coworker Philip, who's now gone on to bigger and better things, he tried to create one also while training me. So I did okay, but it didn't. It was different than customer service, and I failed at it miserably. So I'll be the first to admit it too. So I started working there in, I guess, 2002 and worked till 2006. And Free Comic Book Day started around 2000, 2001. So it was still fairly new when I was working at Diamond. And what Free Comic Book Day is, for those who don't know, is before they settled on the first Saturday in May, it used to be they used to vote on where it would be. And the majority of people wanted to be the first weekend of May, but there was one year that it was July 4th weekend, and that didn't quite succeed. So after that was less successful, they said, we'll just make it the first weekend in May, because they wanted to connect it to the upcoming rise of superhero movies that are coming out. Because of the turn of the century, there weren't as many movies as there were now. X-Men had just broken through in 2000. Spider-Man had just broken through in 2001. So you had those, and they were fairly popular. So then, when they saw how popular they were trying to do other comic book movies at the time. They weren't quite as successful. Blade movies, the Ghost Rider movies, stuff like that. Fantastic Four movies. So they always picked that first weekend in May was when these movies would come out, these superhero movies, because it's the beginning of kickoff of summer. It's the way it always was. And so they wanted to have a tie-in with the comic book stores, wanted to have a tie-in with a comic book movie that was coming out. So they made Free Comic Book Day that first Saturday in May, because that first Friday in May, that first weekend in May, was always reserved for an X-Men or a Spider-Man movie or whatever. But if you're coming down with that, you got to turn it down, okay? Because I'm still on the air, okay? My son's working, looking at his tablet. So they finally decided that regardless of if there's going to be a comic book movie or not, we'll make it the first Saturday in May. That way it can be a annual tradition. You'll know, okay, next year this is when it's going to be, and people can work on that. So no, it's fine. It's fine. He's already done it before anyway. So it's a way, it's very good. Don't watch out, bud. So it's actually more detrimental, not detrimental. It's better for comic book stores to have it on a specific date. That way they can plan for it, and that's what this really is for. It's to get more people into comic book stores, because let's face it, the comic industry is really pushed forward by people my age, men and women, closer to my age, maybe even some in their 30s, maybe upper 20s as well, who grew up, reading comics and want to continue keeping track of their comics and collecting them and stuff like that. And it's getting harder to get young people interested in comics because they have so much more stuff they deal with now, video games and sports and different stuff like that. So it's harder to keep them wanting to buy comics and keep them interested in comics. Now, it's helped recently with the advent of the Marvel movies being as good as they are. That's my lovely wife, for those who don't know. The Marvel movies that started, I guess it'd be 2007 or 8. I think it's 2008 is when Iron Man came out and started this advent of Marvel movies that has, from this point on, has made comic book movies the most successful genre in film history, I would say, or is getting close to it anyway. I guess if you add inflation, maybe Westerns might have beaten it because of they were popular back in the 50s and 60s. But there's a ton of superhero comic book movies coming out between now and 2020. And they're still, all of them make money. Even, well, not all of them, but like the Fantastic Four one didn't make a lot of money last year. But the Marvel movies are making a lot of money. Even characters that nobody's ever heard of, like an Ant-Man or Guardians of the Galaxy, they're making money. Not as much as, say, an Avengers or an Iron Man or a Thor or whatever, but they're still making money. And then now with this Batman vs. Superman, even though it's a horrible movie, it's making a lot of money. So you got your own DC Universe stuff now. Suicide Squad will probably make a lot of money. Then you got Justice League coming out. You got Wonder Woman coming out. You've got a solo Batman movie coming out. You've got a second part of a Justice League movie. You got Aquaman, you got Flash. So now you got all these other movies coming out. And so they're still making lots of money. So they're still popular. So what you want to do is you want to grab the people who like these Marvel movies and DC movies, and drag them into your comic book stores. And that's what Free Comic Book Day does, because that's why they like to have it the weekend that a comic book movie comes out, because that way they can draw the people who, okay, you know, I don't read comics, but this looks really cool. My son or daughter is interested in watching it. I'm going to watch it. So we watch, it's like, oh, this is really neat. You know, it was a great movie. I want to learn more about the characters. Well, go to your local comic book store. But see, the thing is, comic book stores have just, I think, recently gotten over, what's the word I'm looking for? How people perceive them. When comic book stores first came out in the 80s and early 90s, especially in the early 90s with the speculators where, you know, the death of Superman or all these #1, stuff like that, people were thinking that if they got a #1 Savage Dragon or whatever, and they bought like 20 copies of it and just socked them away, that 20 years later they could sell it for $1 million and pay for college tuition or become rich or something like that. And that's not the case, because that's not how the comic industry works. I know, I worked in the distribution side of it, and there's very few comics that are going to be worth $1 million plus anymore. The reason why Amazing Spider-Man #1 and Detective Comics 27 and Action Comics #1 and Superman #1 and Batman #1 from the 1940s are so expensive or worth so much money is because there was only like 50 to 100 of them out there, and majority of them are in landfills deteriorating into dust now. There have been a few that have been saved. My former boss, Steve Jeppy, who owns Diamond Comics and owns the Gem Museum, which is absolutely gorgeous. If you're ever in Baltimore, go check out the Gem Museum over there by Camden Yards. He has a couple copies of it, and he's bought them for $3-4 million. He sold them for $3-4 million. So he makes money off of that. But it's because there's only a certain amount of copies. Nowadays, on a new #1, whenever it comes out, there's always a 100,000 plus print run. And these people are saving these comics in bags and boards and boxes all over. I've got a ton of them down here myself. I'm sort of to blame for that as well. I'm not expecting to make money off of them, because I get them because I like reading them and collecting them. But there are people who buy these new #1s expecting them to make a lot of money in the future, and they're not going to, because there's 100,000 of them out there, and they're not going to get destroyed. Some are going to get destroyed, sure, but the majority of them are going to be kept in people's collections. So comics are not a moneymaker, despite what you may think. So, you know, you have that aspect, but so comic book stores grew up out of that, and there's a lot of them all over the country and the world. But when this is before comics became a legitimate source of entertainment, basically, you would go to these stores and it would be dark, it would be smelly, it would be dirty, it would be all men who work there. They would be, you know, it was your typical nerd cliches. They'd be debating who's stronger, Batman or Superman, or who would win in a battle between the Hulk and Superman, or who's faster, the Flash or Superman, you know, that type of stuff. And, you know, and they, you know, and there's rumors that they were afraid, you know, of girls and women coming because they were scared of talking to girls and women. I don't know if that's true or not. I worked in a comic book store in the 80s, and we had, you know, it was small and cramped and might be a little bit dirty, but it was, you know, it was a comic book store. I mean, at that time, it was in an old house, and you only had a limited amount of space you could do stuff in, and it had a smell of that always, you know, brings me back to this time of ink and paper, and I like the smell. It's not a bad smell, but it also had the smell of, you know, French fries and hamburgers, because that's what you ate, because that was, you know, you couldn't leave the store unattended. And so we were in the middle of an area where there was, you know, a Hardee's or a McDonald's or Roy Rogers or whatever. And for lunch, one of us would go out and we'd get everybody their food, hamburgers, hot dogs, you know, whatever, French fries, and you get that greasy fast food smell, and that would linger inside the store as well. So dark, cramped, maybe slightly dirty. And we had a female who actually worked there. She was the co-owner of the company. So, I mean, you know, I don't remember seeing girls coming in all that much to get comics. It was mostly boys or mothers who would bring their kids into the comic book store. A girl might be there too. But now you flash forward to 2000, where if you go to your local comic book store, they're clean, they're bigger, they look like legitimate bookstores, they're not as cramped. The employees are a mix of male and female, and you see a lot more females who are interested in comic books as well, which is great. I find it great because the more people you have buying comics, the better the industry will keep up. And that's why we need to start focusing now on kids, because now we've got um, women in their 18 to 40-year-old range who are interested in comics, and not just girly comics. They want superhero comics. And at the same time, the comics are starting to, they realize that women are starting to buy more comics now too. So they're going to start creating comics that are going to have strong female characters instead of the typical paint by numbers female characters that a lot of these comics had. But the thing is, there's still that's not stimuli, but there's still that onus that comic book stores are not cool. It might be changed now because of the advent of the comic book movie and the event movie and it being so popular. It might be different now, but it always seemed that when they were trying to create this free comic book day, it was to get that stench of old, stinky, fat, nerdy, fast food eating, smelly, small stores out of people's minds and say, hey, come on in. We've hired men and women who staff it. We have people who recommend not just superhero comics, because there's more to comics than superheroes. There is all kinds of comics. They've got licensed comics. They've got drama. They've got romance. They got kids. They've got psychological. They've got all kinds of crazy, and they've got artwork by men and women. They got writing by men and women and people of color and stuff like that. So you've got different voices making comics. So I'm sure if you came into a comic book store now, you would find something you would like, because not only do they have the new comics that came out, but the one I go to, they have a new comic section. They've got a section on the wall that has the previous 3 or so issues of a comic. So if you just got involved with a comic and you want to pick up some back orders cheap, you don't have to go through the bins and pay extra money for them, because they're still going to, even though they might not make money for a $3.99 comic, if it's an issue that's 5 or 6 months ago, they're going to up it to $4.25 or $5, because it's, they need to make money also. I mean, you can't sell it for, regular price. You need to, to up the price a little bit. And so, you go in there, and then you also have, your independent section that has like 3 or 4 months worth of books there too. And then you've got the trade section, and then you've got a kids section. You've got a kids trade section. You've got an manga section. Then you've got the back issue bins and some more back issue bins. You've got the $1 boxes. You've got the 50-cent boxes. You've got the kid back issues. You've got Funko Pops lined up everywhere. You've got glassware. You've got posters. You've got sports cards. You've got gaming stuff. You've got a big thing now is store-specific comics, where they make covers specifically for your store that has your store name on. Like Spider-Man #1 is a good example. The new Spider-Man with Miles Morales had Miles Morales on it. Like he was the comic store variant would be Miles Morales on top of a building that said Cards, Comics, Collectibles, which was the name of the comic store. You got it. And they can charge $10 for that because it's a special variant that only you can buy at that store. So lots of stores did that. So it's a way to personalize where your store is, to see it on a cover of a comic book. And also, you can probably make some money off of that. I mean, you're not going to make $1 million off it, but you might make $10, $20 off of it, because it's a unique variant, because not many were made, because it's just for this one store. So you have that, and then you've got just everything else, and you've got staff there who are willing to help and talk to you, and if you have recommendations, if you're asking for recommendations, they'll give you recommendations, and that goes for other stores as well. That's just my store, but Third Eye Comics or something like that down in Annapolis, I follow them on Twitter. They've got a huge store, and they've got all kinds of cool stuff going on. Alternate Worlds, where I used to work, they moved to a bigger store. They have an upstairs gaming room where you can play role-playing games, stuff like that now, because they know that that's a big deal also. So, you can go and to these comic book stores, and they're clean, and they're big, and you've got helpful staff, and there's not, annoying. There might be 1 or 2 annoying people there, but the majority of people there are kind and cool, and they understand you're just as big of a comic book geek as they are, and they want to talk comics with you, and they'd be willing to sit there and chat about comics and recommend stuff to you. It's great. And that's what Free Comic Book Day does. It gives you a chance to go to these comic book stores and not have to pay for anything. They're offering free comics that the comic companies themselves are doing to try to help the stores, the comic book stores, and to draw awareness to comic books. So they might, Marvel's notorious for, they've got Civil War II, they've got the movie Captain America Civil War is coming out that weekend, of May 6th, I think, May 6th is when Free Comic Book Day. It's the first Saturday in May. Let me just double check and make sure what the date is. But they've got Captain America Civil War coming out in the movie theaters. And then it's May 7th is Free Comic Book Day. Saturday, May 7th. And then they have, in the comics, they have Civil War II to bunny hop onto that. So what Marvel does is that's going to be their big summer-long crossover series. They always do a prequel book to their big event for Free Comic Book Day. That way you grab their free comic book that has this prequel story in it that sets up Civil War II and then gives you a list of these are all the books that's going to continue. And if you like the story, you like the artwork, you like where it's going, these are the dates these books are coming out. Come back, buy them. Keep reading the story. You'll love it. It's great. And then other stuff like DC is going to be releasing the first issue of the new 52 Suicide Squad. It was an awful issue because I didn't like the creative team. But you know what? The Suicide Squad movie's coming out in August. People have heard about it. They've seen the trailer that I talked about. They're going to want to pick it up. Say, I need to learn more about Suicide Squad. So let's pick that up as well. And then there's, independents are going to be doing, okay, we've got like IDW. Well, IDW is not really an independent anymore, but they've got the rights to do Rom, which was a character back in the 80s. They're going to release their number 0 issue to get people interested in wanting to pick up the regular comics of Rom. And then you've got, the licensees are going to be doing licensed stuff like Doctor Who. Titan Comics does Doctor Who comics. They're doing a short story that has all 4 of the contemporary Doctors, 9, 10, 11, and 12, working together in one story. And then there's other stuff, where other independents that might not have movies or television shows coming up, but they've got books they're really proud of or books that are coming up that they want to really push. They'll give you a taste of what that is. So you pick it up for free, you look at it, say, you know what, this is kind of neat. And you come back and you buy the first issue. That's what Free Comic Book Day does. It gets you to the comic book store. It gets you a chance to get free comics, to see what's going on in the world of comics. And they're not all superhero comics. You get to see a wide variety. You get kids only comics. You've got or not kids only, but comics for everyone. You've got superhero comics. You got connections to movies and TV shows and licenses, and then you've got independents of new series that are coming out, new characters that look interesting to you, with new artwork and new faces and new creators that they're excited about, and you grab these issues and you read them and you're like, these are cool, and you go back to your store and you buy the issues when they come out. That's the whole case of Free Comic Book Day. Now, the rule is for Free Comic Book Day is the stores cannot purchase is not necessary to get a Free Comic Book Day comic book. You could walk in the store, grab a free comic, and walk out and say, F this place, and just grab it because it's free. You can do that. That's fine. That's a dick move, in my opinion, but some people do that. Or, you just go and, if it's your first time in the comic store and it gives you a chance to look around. You get your free comics, but hey, they've got creators, people who've done the writing, the artwork, whatever they're going to be. They're going to be signing their new books. Hey, why don't you buy one of their books and help the store? Because even though the store is giving these away for free, they have to pay for them. They might only be 35 cents a book, but they still have to put money out to buy these free comics. And yes, it helps them in the end to get more people in there. But at the same time, there are those people who just come in, grab the free book, and leave. And you never see them again until next Free Comic Book Day. They try to, they want to show you, this is my store. We are a cool store. We've got creators here. We have creators all through the year. And we have special offers. My store does special offers every weekend. For Free Comic Book Day, they're going to go absolutely insane. The every weekend they have special things where they get 20% off of trades or 30% off of old comics, or 10% off of back issues or whatever, and that's good. But when you get to like the holidays, like the Easter holidays or Christmas holidays or New Year's holidays or whatever, they go all out and they up the ante for their weekend sales, and they do that on Free Comic Book Day, where you could get 50% off of a trade paperback, which basically means that you go into the store, you get the free comic book of Suicide Squad, you're interested in Suicide Squad, and you want to see, you're interested in the movie and you want to see what you can about Suicide Squad and learn what you can about Suicide Squad before you see the movie. So you go and you find the trades or you find the new comics of Suicide Squad. These stores will have these special deals where if you have 50% off of trade paperbacks, you get the first 2 trades of the new Suicide Squad series. You pay for them. Guess what? You're paying full price for 2 books. They're all half price. So say they're $20 usually, $10 for book 1, $10 for book 2, $20. So for the price of 1 book, you get 2. Can't beat that. And that's a way to get you back in. Let's see, my friend Scott McDonald got this at Free Comic Book Day last year. Let's see what it is. Yes. I'm not going to show the picture, Scotty, because it's of your son. But he got a drawing of Sonic. His son got a drawing of Sonic from, I guess there was a local artist there, and the Free Comic Book Day issue of the New Avengers, because the Avengers movie came out last year at this time. Scott gets it. That's what you do. You go not just for the kids, but you go, because my son, I went to my Free Comic Day a couple years ago, and they always have 4 or 5 artists and writers, and sometimes they've got some popular ones, and then they've got a few who are local guys or indie guys or whatever. And there was an indie guy who no one was really going to and getting any artwork done or whatever. And we actually were going to buy something, and this artist, my son had on an Iron Man mask. And this artist said, "Hey, is Iron Man your favorite character?" And I was like, "Yeah, he likes him." Because my son was like 3 or 4 years old. He said, "Hey, let me draw you a sketch." He drew a quick sketch of Iron Man and gave it to my son for free. How cool is that? Because he realized, much like how I'm assuming Scott's son, the artist who gave them realized, this is a young kid. And if I can give him a good experience, give him a free picture or whatever, it might make him interested in wanting to get a Sonic comic or buying one of my comics or getting into the comic industry, because this is his bread and butter. He's a comic book artist writer. And if the comic industry fails, guess what? He's got to get a new job. So his job is to try to get as many people interested in it as well. And is Scott's son now interested in buying more comics? Maybe. But it's still a fun event. My son still reads some comics. I still buy him some comics, but he's not that interested in it. My daughter's a little bit more interested in it than my son is. But it's great. So Free Comic Book Day is absolutely perfect. And I'm going to keep pushing this every year. I pushed it last year. I pushed it the year before. I'm going to keep pushing it because I highly recommend everybody go to Free Comic Book Day. Some places make a big deal about it. A couple of years ago, we had cosplayers, people dressed up in costumes at my store. We had a radio station do a live remote for 2 hours from my store. 2-hour live remote. Think of the publicity for that. He didn't pay for it. The radio station said, "Hey, we know you're doing Free Comic Book Day. Can we come out and do this?" Hell yeah, you can. Come on. It's great because then you get people to come and you give away your radio station stuff. So it helps the radio station too, because I also worked in radio doing stuff like that. We gave away t-shirts that said the radio station on it. And then what you do is people wear it because it's a free shirt, and they wear it and they walk around. Hey, it's free advertising. WLIF 101.9. Hey, let's listen to the radio, see what it's like. You might not like it, but you know what? You might. It's really cool. So I highly recommend everybody go to Free Comic Book Day. Even if you're not a big fan of comics, you might find something you like, because they're not just superheroes anymore. There's detective comics. There's fantasy comics. There's girl power comics. There's manga, Japanese comics. There's, licenses. If you like Back to the Future or Sonic or Scooby-Doo or any of stuff, they've got those comics too, And then these places don't just sell comics. They sell action figures. They sell Funko Pops. They sell stuffed animals. There's a whole Doctor Who section in my comic store. They've got like a Dalek mug and a talking TARDIS and action figures with the doctors on it, and they have T-shirts that they've gotten that have Batman, Superman, Harley Quinn, and stuff like that on it as well. And they've got mugs and they've got glasses and they've got gaming stuff and baseball cards and all kinds of neat things and trade paperbacks, stuff like that. So it's great. It's well worth it to go out and find it. Now Dylan, tell me, I'm interested in Free Comic Book Day now. How do I find out about it? Well, very easily. Go to your search browser, whatever it may be, type in FCBD or Free Comic Book Day. And what should pop up first should be the Free Comic Book Day website. They have a website. You click on that. What it'll do is it'll give you information, maybe pictures of the covers about what this year's comics are, and what's the stores aren't going to buy all of them. They'll buy some of them. Some buy all of them. Some buy only specific ones, the Marvel, DC, whatever. And then they have a little button at the bottom. It says, put your zip code in here. And we'll tell you what stores are involved in Free Comic Book Day, because not all of them. You don't have to do Free Comic Book Day if you don't want to. I don't know why you wouldn't, but you don't have to. And so they say, here, you might not know that there's a comic book store nearby you. You might not have ever looked for one. It might be one in a mall and you've never seen it because you don't go to that part of the mall. So put your zip code in that little box and hit enter. Guess what? Boop. The next screen. Every store within like a 30-mile radius of where your zip code is. I'll tell you what stores are involved in Free Comic Book Day. We'll give directions to those stores. We'll give you links to their website if they have one. Phone numbers, hours, all that stuff is on there. And you look for the one that's closest to you. And I don't know how your browser works. Maybe they do the one that's closest to you and then down to the one that's furthest away from you, or it's reversed, or it's just all over the place, alphabetical order. I don't know. You find one that's close by. Oh, hell, All About Comics is 3 blocks away from here. I've never seen it before. So you drive, and it's in a strip mall, and you've never really gone to the strip mall because why would you? There's really nothing of interest for you in there. Holy shit, there's a comic book store. Let's go check it out. You drive into All About Comics, you roll in. It might be one of the most gorgeous comic book stores you've ever seen. And there's your free comic books. And you got people saying, hey, welcome to All About Comics. How can I help you? Or I've got writer, Louise Simonson here. She writes all these books, and we've got trades. They'll buy books that their creators who are coming down and have them ready so that if you want someone to sign one, they have stacks of trades and comics. If Brett Booth is one of the artists who's at your store, they'll have trades of his Flash books that he's drawn, or maybe the newest issues of the Flash that he's done, whatever, or covers or posters or whatever for sale right in front of them. You grab it, you pay for it, and you say, here, can you sign this for me? And he'll be like, hell yeah. Free Comic Book Day is totally worth it. It's a lot of fun. And as I said, I recommend you don't have to. But it would be cool if you could buy something from the store. As little as a trade paperback or whatever. Just buy something from the store. You don't, as I said, you don't have to. But you got to remember, this guy's whole life is in this comic book store. And he is paying for these free comic books so that he can have, yes, more people come to his store and come see it. And yes, it is technically like free advertising. Not really free because he's paying 35 cents per copy or 50 cents, whatever it is, a buck, whatever it is. I don't know. It was like 35 cents when I did it back in the 2000s. It could be more now, 16 years later, or 14 years later, I should say. But he still had to put money out. She had to still put money out to buy these. And, as I said, you don't have to. I mean, I don't always buy something at my store because I already spend enough money at my store. I usually go get my comics that Wednesday or that Friday before Free Comic Book Day, and I spend I haven't been spending as much as I have. I spend about maybe on average about between $20 and $40 a week on comics, and I do that. So he has my money already. So I don't feel the need to go in and buy something because I already spent money there. What I should do is I should wait to get my comics until Free Comic Day and maybe get some of the discounts. But by then, Free Comic Day has lines up the wazoo, and I don't feel like waiting them. Whereas I can go to the comic book store, get my stuff, get checked out in like 10 minutes. That's it. You don't have to, but just go to check out Free Comic Book Day. You might be surprised by what you see. I'm just about 2 hours in, and I still have a lot to talk about, but I think I might. I don't want to go too much over because 2.5 hours gets to be a little too much for things. Maybe I'll save some of this for next week. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I think I talked about some good stuff today, and I'm going to keep pushing this Free Comic Book Day stuff. I will probably push it again next week, whatever I decide. If I decide to do a international with Bronwyn, if I decide to do another solo show, if I decide to do something else, I'm still going to find a way to push Free Comic Book Day because it's May 7th. That's 2 weekends away. And it's worth it because there's some really cool comic book stores out there. And I'm saying this, I might be biased, yes, because I've worked in the industry for 4 years and I talk to a lot of these guys. And look, I'll be the first to admit it. There are some real assholes who own comic book stores. I've dealt with them and I hated it. So the reason I'm not working at Diamond anymore is because these assholes got on my last nerve. But there are those guys who are the coolest people in the world. Those accounts, which made it all worthwhile, that made the horror, the stress I went through dealing with these asshole customers. I had other accounts, as soon as I saw the number pop up, I was like, oh, thank God. And most of the time, they were very cool. Even if they were mad at me, they were still cool with me. They didn't get in my face and blame me for all their ills and stuff like that. And they might yell at me, but they usually reiterate with like, I don't mean to yell. You guys need to vent a little bit. And I was like, it's fine. I'm used to it. You know, I knew these guys. I worked with some of them. Like they've come to the Baltimore Comic-Con. I worked with a couple of them, and met a couple of them when I worked the Long Beach Comic-Con out there. I met a lot of them out there, and they're all really great people. Yes, there are dicks and there are assholes, and there's going to be that in every industry, in every field. But you know what? That's on my end, being customer service is what we do. They come, this is their livelihood. And if their books don't come on time or they all come damaged and it's the hot book, comic book people are notorious for, they don't really have, you know what, I'm only going to buy my books at this store. You know, there might be some people like that, but I tell you what, if you go to a store and they don't have Avengers #1, that just came out this week. It's a big story. Everyone's going to be talking about it. You're a comic book fan and you've been dying to see this comic. And your store doesn't have it, A, because a bad shipment, a batch, all of them that they ordered are damaged in some form or another at the warehouse, which happens a lot more often than you think. You're not, and then they say, well, we're going to get some more in next week. Do you want to hold up? In this day and age of the internet, stuff like that, they're going to say, no, I'll be back next week for my stuff, and leave. And because there are a lot of comic books in your area, you'll go to that store and you'll buy the book from that store because they have it. That's the way it is. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's, you know, are there people, comic book fans, who particularly are going to stay at one store? Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there is. Absolutely, I'm sure there is. But there also are ones that are, no, I kind of want it now. I don't want to wait. So I'm going to go to this store over here. Within 30 miles, well, let's just short it down. Within 15 miles of my house, where I am right now doing this show, I got my local source I go to all the time, Cards, Comics, Collectibles, about 5 minutes away. Is it that way? Yes, that way. It's like probably over there, but it's over somewhere around there. 5 minutes away. I love the store. It's great. My kids love the store. And it's so convenient being 5 minutes away from my house. Lots of parking. Good people work there. Then there's alternate worlds, which is, as I said, this is the job I had in the 80s where we were in a house. They moved to a bigger store in a shopping center down the street from where the house was, and now they've moved into an even bigger store, which is along York Road, which is a little bit of worse spot because the parking sucks, but their building is bigger. And I've been there, and it's nice building. It's really nice, and they're good people there too. So I got alternate worlds there. That's about 20 minutes away from my house. So I got Cars Comics Festival's 5 minutes. I got alternate worlds about 20 minutes away. There's one in Towson, which I haven't been in yet, but I know where it is. That's about 30 minutes away. I think there's one in Westminster, which I haven't been, which is about 15, 20 minutes away also. And if I expand it a little bit, there's Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, which is a little bit of a hike for me, but it's a very good store. So I've got 4 or 5 fairly close around me. Now I haven't been as big as a comic collector lately because I need to save my money for, as I said earlier, cars and home repair and stuff like that. But I've been building back up because DC's got their rebirth coming up, and Marvel's has got new #1s and new stuff like that. So I've been picking and choosing books that I want to get. So as I said, I've narrowed it down from, I used to spend close to $80, $90 a week on comics. I've dropped that almost 4 times to $20 to $40 a week now, and 40s, on a day when there's a lot of stuff. Its majority is about $20 a week, which is really nothing. It's going to pick up a little bit once Rebirth starts. There's a lot of really good books that I want to get, and they're bi-weekly, but I might have to just say, we'll see. But comic books are great. Another good location for comic books, if you want to get into comics as well, is go to your local library, which is I'm getting ready to do once I get the show over with. Your local library has got, well, mine anyway, I'm sure all libraries do this. They have, the one we're going to in Owings Mills has, in the kids section, 2 boxes of comic books, which you can check out, actual comic books you can check out. They have a kids trade paperback section in the kids section. You go outside the kids section, they've got a tween, young teenage section, which is mostly manga. And you go upstairs, and you've got your trade paperbacks, 2, 4 shelves of those. So if you want to get caught up and you don't want to buy the comics at your local comic book store, go to your local library and check them out, read them, and return them. So that's a good place to get started with comics. As I said, there's lots of different comics. One I wanted to talk about today, but I didn't get to since I'm running on my time now. Amelia Rules. I talked about it a couple weeks ago. It's great for girls. It's about a 9-year-old girl whose parents just got divorced, and she moved with her mom from New York City to a small Bumble town in Pennsylvania, has to make new friends, and she ages as the book progresses. So by the last book, she was like 13 years old. It's brilliant. It's gorgeous. Jimmy Gownley is the artist writer. It's fantastic. He was at my local store a couple years ago for Free Comic Book Day. And I'm hoping maybe he'll come back this year. That'd be great, because I really would like to talk to him and thank him, because I was his brand manager for a little bit, way back in the old days, and he probably doesn't remember me, but it's always cool to do that. So yeah, there's lots of interesting comics out there. Their rebirth starts in June, so you can start fresh with new #1s and get on the ground floor and get Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman comics, stuff like that. Marvel just went through their big massive change. They've got a bunch of books that are in the 1 to 10 issue range, and the trade paperbacks have like 6 issues, so you can get caught up quickly. There's some really good stuff out there now. But then there's all kinds of really good independent books out there and licensed books and stuff like that. It's not just superheroes. Go to your comic book store Saturday, May 7th. Just go. It's fun. They'll have sales. Most places have sales. You can pick up a lot of really cool stuff for very cheap. They'll have artists and writers there that'll sign your stuff. Will make it more valuable, maybe a little bit. Still very cool. And get your free comic books. And take a look at what comic books are today. One more thing before I go. Another thing that'll get you is they're trying to get more women involved, and they're trying to get them now younger. Young girls. I got my daughter hooked on Amelia Rules is a good one. Target has a superhero girl series that's only at Target. They have action figures, dolls, books, costumes, accessories. I mean, yeah, guys can play with it too if they want to, but it's mostly geared towards women. And they have videos on YouTube. They have a cartoon, I think it's on like Boomerang, which we don't get, so I can't watch that. But they've got comics coming out for them. Free Comic Book Day is going to have a superhero girl comic in it. June 29th, DC is going to release their first volume of a 64-page trade paperback, including these characters. Again, young girls. I'm gonna check it out. Amelia Rules is for young girls, but I think everybody will love it because it's not about just girls. It's about childhood, and it's really good, and it's a bit deeper than you'd expect. So, I'm done. I had a lot more I want to talk about, but you know what? I talked a lot more than I thought it would about other things. I think maybe next week I might just do another one of these episodes and cover what I didn't, but we'll see. I'll check with Bronwyn. I'm going to talk about why the Walking Dead finale was a lot better than a lot of people are. I keep pushing that off, but hopefully I'll do that. I want to talk about why Fear the Walking Dead is awful, but may have potential down the line. I want to talk about amusement parks today. I want to do some movie reviews and music reviews. But I didn't get around to it. So, I always overcompensate because I don't know how on these solo shows how I'm going to do with time. And apparently I did pretty good because I've been on for 2 hours and 10 minutes. So I need to nip this in the bud because if I go any further than that, no one's going to watch. So thank you for everybody who's watching. I will send you out information on when my next episode is. It might not be on a Sunday because we got plans. It might be on Saturday or it might be on Sunday. It depends. If I can work around the plans or the plans are later in the day, I don't really know. If I start sooner, maybe I can get it done. And I don't know who it's going to be with, if Bronwyn's going to join me or if not, I got to talk to Bronwyn, or I might just say, you know what, I'll wait till May to get back involved with international because Bronwyn might be busy doing stuff because there's stuff I want to talk to Bronwyn about. So we'll see. So that being said, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a good week, and I'll see you all next week. And take care. Bye.